the Evergreen Community. Hi, this is Terry Powell. Today I'll be filming the Evergreen Community, the surrounding farming communities between the towns of Claxton and Metter, Georgia, also near Cobbtown, Georgia, and Collins, Georgia. This is the site of Evergreen Baptist Church where I grew up. This is the church and social building. There's also, there used to be bolt barns here, and my grandma Shelley grew up in a home here years ago, probably 100 years ago or more. A lot of large evergreen trees. Evergreen Baptist Church was chartered in 1879. In 1916, there used to be an old building behind this playground area in the woods back there. Supposedly there's still an old outhouse in the woods that's still standing. And anyway, this church, this sanctuary part of the church was built in 1948, the year my parents were born. And then there's an educational building behind it. It was constructed in 1956. In 1979, they had the 100-year anniversary. And then there's the social building, social hall that was built recently in the last probably 15 to 20 years. There's a giant evergreen oak tree, or evergreen tree, that the church is named after. There's also many others in this area. This is the church where I grew up. My parents brought me here. My second marriage was also held here. Like I say, this educational part was built in 1956, but the church sanctuary was 1948. And you can see here this metal building was added on recently, where they have social gatherings and bring food. Behind the church is an old cemetery. It's almost full now. Some of my relatives are buried, along with many other big families that have been in this church. Here we have some of my family on my mom's side was the Greens. Joyce and Clyde Green. Right next to them there's graves that my parents have had. Even though they're still living, they've got graves for Sandra and Hal Powell. And then my grandparents, Carl and Gaynell Green, are buried right beside them. My aunt Lucille Driggers. Also in this cemetery, my dad's got some relatives back in the 1800s. One corner of it. Joan and Wendell West's house. I believe this was the church parsonage. It's been sold since. It looks different than when it was built. Listen Road, Evergreen Church Road to Cobbtown. Looks like it's for sale. I'm thinking this might have been the farm of the house of Jerry Cabell and Melva, Tanya and Pamela growing up somewhere in this area. This is where we had family reunions in Cobbtown, Georgia, right across the street from a church here, Cobbtown Baptist Church. City of Cobbtown, Georgia, where the population was 341 in 2020. This is the softball field where Evergreen Baptist Church competed with the other churches back in the 70s and 80s in softball games. I was a preteen and early teenager. Played in this playground area and court on the other side of the road. Played a lot of softball here. The Cobbtown Mall, right across from the fire station in Cobbtown, Georgia. I think this is George Holland's home and farm. This might be the site of Diane Fordham and the Bland's, Al Bland's homes. I think this is Mr. Alvey's farm. Sam Green and Holland's and some others. Farm and Thrift. Alvey Hackle. More farms. Nice home here off Evergreen Church Road. It might have been the shoemaker's home. Mark Shoemaker went to Georgia Tech with me back in the 80s. I think this might be where my Sunday school teacher, Miss Jeanette, used to live, back here behind the church. This is the home of Robert and Angie West. At the last house I was at, I misspoke. It was Robert and Becky West. Angie West and Wendy West were the daughters of Joan and Wendell West. Robert and Becky had Chris and Stanley. There's a lot of West at Evergreen. This side I'm at now is at the grave side where good friends I grew up with, Ben Collins. June and Ben had little Ben and JJ and Jakelin and other. Anyway, they've passed away. Some of them are buried here at this cemetery, just across the road from this church here. And their home where we used to play is nearby. Look at Highway 121. This old brick home here used to be June and Ben Collins' house. As a child I grew up and we played. My parents played poker with them and me and little Ben played in the yard. Where Wayne Crider did body work. Frank Thrift, Pat Kingery, Wayne Crider, and the Coleys. All of them had farms and shops, houses in this area. Pat Kingery and Wayne Crider had matching houses. Their wives, Bobby and Betty, each wanted matching houses built. Here's where E.C. Ernie Hackle lived with his son Keith Hackle. Here was an old sharecropper house. Ellie Hackle and Dovely were here back in the 70s and 80s when I was little, and then they moved to my Aunt Pharisee's house, which I'll show later. A lot of nice homes have been built here since I used to live here on Hackle Circle. Now Barry Hackle, Jan Hackle's son, they had a house moved here. They've lived here for a number of years now. Here's where Jan and Janilda Hackle live. Their daughter Lisa and Janilda. I think Lisa's moved back into it now that Jan's passed away. This is where Ralph Sapp's house was. This is the old Sunbury Road marker. The intersection of Highway 129, known as the Claxton Highway, and Ernie Hackle Road and Thrift Lane. Here at my grandparents' old farm. The road to Camp Hillview, Georgia Primitive Baptist Youth Camp, where we went swimming, had a retreat growing up. The Rogers Baptist Church is 4.1 miles. There's also a Charlton Grove Missionary Baptist Church that way. Aunt Pharisees, then Ellie and Doubly Hackles, and now it's Will's Hot Rod. Green and Sybil Thrifts, where I used to work in the backer with Stevie and Duke Thrift. Charlton Grove Missionary Baptist Church. This might be Norwood Rogers' old place. If so, this barn's where we kept the rattlesnakes back in the 80s for the rattlesnake roundup. Camp Hillview, primitive youth camp. We went swimming. It was a swimming pool. They also have dorms where you kind of a retreat. Another view of Robert West's house. Miss Henrietta Thrifts, Miss Rhett's horse farm. The house burned down, but I think this was the land and the barns and stuff. Lester Brown Road. Lynn and Barbara Slater's house. Howard and Shirley West's house. Looks kind of like a log cabin. Collins, Georgia. Population 541. This is where Ben Sapp had a pool hall my daddy used to shoot pool at. It's nothing but a slab now. There's still some other buildings still here. This might be Rupert Odom's old place. I'm not sure. It's changed a lot. David and Kay Jernigan's house, Tillman Easton Road, Claxton, Georgia. Kennedy's Bridge. This is my Aunt Dare's house. A pond beside it, right across from Ben Sapp's. I think this was my great-grandma Shelley Kicklighter's house in Collins, Georgia. This is the old racetrack area. Turns out it used to be a drag strip. These concrete pylons here are concrete footings for an old fire tower that were dug up and just laid out in a row here. Sue Hobbs' house. This was my grandparents' house, Carl and Gaynell Green. Now my Uncle Richard lives here. kind of a well built in the front of the house. It used to be a playhouse. Here it's been torn down. Green's garage. This is the home of Hal and Sandra Powell, my parents. It was built in 1975. A lot of these trees and bushes were a lot smaller when I was little. It's on an 80-acre farm that was my grandparents, Carl and Gaynell Green. As a postscript to this video, let me state that these are my memories from 40 to 57 years ago of the Evergreen community of farms and church members living within a 10-mile radius of Evergreen Baptist Church. Many of these church members have passed away or moved over the past 46 years, even though I didn't use the word late in front of their names. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video.